everybody. Welcome to today's interview. Welcome to today's broadcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. Thank you so much for all the positive responses that we are getting from everybody all around the world. We feel very encouraged. Today we have Yvonne Mbanefo, who's going to be speaking to us about how she's been able to make it in a field and in areas that a lot of people face limitations, and how she's able to overcome those limitations and break the barriers she did break to get to where she is right now. The reason why we do this is because a lot of us have tried to do a lot of things in their life, and they've encountered obstacles, they've met um, limitations, and there's been a lot of barriers, and they give up, they pack up, and they go home. But some people, somehow they've overcome this limitation that made these people to pack up and go home. So we're kind of interested in talking with these people. We've been focusing mainly on women because it looks like, the saying goes that it's a man's world. Men out there are the ones that are breaking barriers. Men are the ones that you see establishing companies, doing so many things. And for a woman usually has to overcome more obstacles in trying to achieve certain things in life than a man. So we're intrigued at women who have been able to overcome all these obstacles, manage their homes and so many things. And that's why we've been focusing on them. We've done a couple of interviews, and today again we are trying to talk to someone who has overcome a lot of barriers to get to where she is right now. You guys know how it is with technology. We are going to try to add her and bring her on the program to us. And as soon as she comes on, we're gonna get to find out from her how she was able to do what she did.
I've conquered my village people.
Your audio.
Should I put my
Yeah, go ahead.
okay.
Hello?
Is that better?
Yeah.
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect. Yes.
Okay.
So, Yvonne, I'm so excited that you were able to make it. I was beginning to panic, but I was I was holding myself. So it's good to have you on the program today. I know you had a very busy schedule, and I was just praying that you're able to make it. So I'm glad that you could make it. So without wasting time, let's just go straight ahead and ask to know about you. Who is Yvonne Mbanefo? To somebody who is hearing about you for the first time, introduce yourself to us. Who are you?
Where do I start? My name is Yvonne Chioma Mbanefo. I'm a proud Igbo woman. I'm proud of my heritage, and I'm a mother to 3 children. Well, almost 2 teenagers and 1 almost teenager. I'm a wife. I create stuff. I run an IT firm. And I am an advocate for African languages, especially Igbo language.
So why Igbo language? Where does that passion come from? Why?
Um, well, I was born in England, and then my parents took me back to Nigeria when I was a young child. So they were adamant that I learn the language. So they kept sending me to my maternal grandparents. So all my primary school holidays I spent at Mbise, where my grandfather was a headmaster, and he was also a translator to the colonial masters.
Mm, mm.
So I was brought up in that teacher, sort of mentality. So he always took me everywhere he went to, and he turned every situation into a learning situation. Anyway,
Yeah.
so but I didn't know that those early years would prepare me for what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward a few years, I come to England. Years later, I start a family. Then I realized that the only time I spoke Igbo to my children was only when I was shouting at them. So maybe in the shopping mall, if I don't want people to hear what I'm saying, I'll just tell them, things like that. So and then until my husband pointed it out that they're beginning to relate the language to, when I'm shouting at them. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always been good with my hands. I've always been creative. So I went online to look at what was available for learning Igbo. And I didn't quite like what I saw. I went to Nigeria, bought the books there, and I realized that the Igbo books in Nigeria are actually designed for people who already knew how to speak Igbo, but not for as a second language. So because I have a background in digital media and information design, I just started dabbling with creating little videos on YouTube, and from there designing little books, and then from there just it just turned into a whole different thing altogether. So now I create books, I create little videos, I create learning materials
So the
for
plan,
Igbo language.
yeah. So the passion to do this came out of your realization that there was a need to impart the knowledge to your kids, and then you started thinking beyond your kids. So you saw the need, and when you, according to you, when you went and brought the books, when in Nigeria, you saw that they were tailored for people who already knew Igbo language. So now you seen the problem, you saw the gap, and then you had the passion to do something. Tell us the things that you have done to be able to pursue this passion, this dream. What tangible things did you do? I know that I was fascinated when I saw you doing the dictionary project. I participated. It was very interesting thing that time. We were
Mhm.
contributing with. Now, but I know you've gone ahead to do a lot of other things. So take us through the dictionary, some books you've done. I know you've done some conferences. I know you've spoken in TEDx platform. So take us through, because talk is cheap, but it is the doing. So we want to hear the doing part.
Okay, I've always been interested in my culture, and I am a very active participant at my husband is from Nnewi. I'm from Enugu State, but I attend very active in the
Yeah,
Nnewi
Enugu
meeting in London.
State. Enugu State.
So and so I've always been interested in Igbo culture and dancing. So I'm part of the dance troupe at the Newi meeting. So when I started creating the Igbo materials, I started researching because I have a background in academia. I used to lecture at one of the universities in London here. So that gave me obviously the skills to sort of delve into, to see what people have done in applied linguistics. So even though my field is digital media, but I had, I just had the interest in it. So as I said before, I started with the videos, and then from there, I was invited to speak at an Igbo language conference at SOAS University of London. It was the first one, and it was held in a tiny little classroom. So, and I remember feeling very intimidated because everyone else there were like linguists, and they've done English, they've done, I was the only one from a technology background. But surprisingly, what I was talking about made sense because I was talking from the angle of a problem that needs to be solved, using my own children as an example. And I also talked about the changing face of the Igbo person because um, the Igbo people we know now are not just my color. You have Igbo people that have blonde hair and blue eyes because according to Igbo culture, when a woman is married to an Igbo man, she automatically becomes an Igbo woman. So a Canadian or American, a white Canadian or a white American who becomes an Igbo wife is automatically an Igbo woman. So I was trying to say that the face of the Igbo person has changed, and we need to be more inclusive and bring them in by, first of all, teaching them the language and then the culture. So, but the person that brought the first Igbo language conference together was moving back to Nigeria. So I don't quite know how it happened, but the following year I became the organizer. So and we turned it into Igbo conference because we felt that making it Igbo language conference would make it too would constrict it too much. So we approached SOAS University of London to partner with us. And when I say we, I mean my co-convener Louisa Ebunike and Nzo Anike. So we started it, and we've been going on for 8 years now. We had our 8th conference last month.
Wow. I know.
Yeah. So what we
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, our own conference is unique because we're trying to bring academia and the community together, because we believe that both academics who have excelled in Igbo studies and community like you and I who have relatives in Igbo land have more valuable knowledge to contribute. So we provide that space for everyone to come together and share what information they've got and what knowledge they've got.
Awesome.
And what else have I done?
The book.
I've
I know you've done how many books have you done?
I've done a lot of translation for some people for their books into Igbo, and I've written about 3 children's storybooks, dual language storybooks.
Okay.
I have like about 20 more that I haven't finished. You know, the life of a mother, you just juggling everything, and yeah, so, and every year I say I'll finish it, but I'm hoping that this year this year is the year of indigenous languages, International Year of Indigenous Language. So I'm hoping that at least half of them will be on the market by the end of this year.
We're talking about 10
So,
books.
and then
10 books out.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I've been invited for different conferences in different countries. The biggest one is TED Global. TED approached me to speak at TED Global in Arusha, Tanzania in 2017. And I went to talk about how we can use stories to promote African languages, and then I highlighted how a lot of African languages were becoming extinct. And I've done work for universities. I've done work for the law, the police. I've done translations for them. At the moment, I'm working with for a group. I'm doing some work with a group who's delving into colonial archives A lot of it is in University of Cambridge. So I'm trying to see whether I can turn some of those knowledge and recordings, audio recordings, text and pictures into modern storybooks and information for people.
Wow, quite a lot, quite a lot. Let's hear. You make it sound like you just wake up and just go for the conference, come back, write the book, come back, do this, do that. You make it sound so easy. Were there obstacles? Were there obstacles? Were there challenges? Were there times that you felt like, you know what, I'm done. That's like I've had it. Let's take us through one or two of those moments, especially when, as a woman, as a black person, in a male-dominated world, there's some things that stand out, some challenges that stand out to you, because that's the essence of this whole thing. A lot of people have given up. A lot of people listening to you, they can identify with some of the things that you're talking about, and they're feeling so bad that, yes, you know, I wanted to write that book, I never finished it. I was invited to this conference, I didn't go. I wish I had gone. Look at this lady, she's talking about everything I've always wanted to do in my life. So let's hear about some of the challenges, some of the barriers that you've had to break in order to get to where you are right now.
Where do I start? First of all, I had a lot of I contacted some of the people who started uploading Igbo lessons before me, and I met a wall of silence. And then and then I got angry. And then when you get angry, then you something propels you. So it's that anger that propelled me. So I I just woke up one morning and decided, you know what, we don't have an up-to-date Igbo dictionary. So that's how I started the
Yeah.
Facebook
Yeah.
group. Yes, because it was my intention to have a comprehensive Igbo dictionary. And as you were part of it, so it took us about 3-4 years to compile it, but it hasn't been published because nobody will fund the typing of the manuscript.
What? Hold on, hold
So
on.
so
Honestly, my goodness. If you didn't say it now, I thought it was a done deal. I thought it was already
no,
published. Oh,
no,
goodness.
because unfortunately, people haven't seen what we're seeing, and the people who have the money don't see how they would benefit from it. So I've tried talking. Fundraising is not one of my strongest skills.
Oh, tell me about it.
So, so I've the manuscript is read. We just need people to type it, and because the group generated, you can imagine over 4 years, generated hundreds of thousands of words, even ones that haven't we didn't have any, but we've tried to
Yes.
create new words for it. Yeah, for
Honestly,
example,
Yvonne, honestly, this is something we need to talk about this after. My hands are full, but I'm telling you, this is something we shouldn't let it die. Because what I loved about that dictionary is it is very relevant. It's a now thing. There are so many
mm,
words that have come out today that were never there before. Even in the social media age, where so many thousands of new things have come up that never existed, that don't exist in Igbo land and Igbo language, but you have tried to give a name to all of those things. And
mm,
our kids are growing up. They're growing up, and see, going back to Nigeria now is not as easy as before, the insecurity and everything. So now we have to pour into them as much as possible with whatever material that we have here. So we need to talk about that.
okay.
But I
So
thought you were saying something about the words, some of the
no,
words.
that's fine. So some of the words, we've I really had fun in that group trying to, because I used a crowdsourcing type of framework where you tell people, okay, come in and bring in your ideas, and then you see people saying, oh, the Igbo word for straw, the drinking straw, is ome, and you're telling them why, and they said, oh, that's what my grandmother used to call it. And then if nobody else is forthcoming with a better word, we just said, okay, that's what it is. I have a very inquisitive second child, you know, the middle child. So she woke up one day and asked me, what is dinosaur in Igbo? So I came up to the group and said, what is dinosaur? And then you see people saying, oh, we didn't have dinosaur in Igbo land. And that's not an excuse, because we
No.
we didn't have aeroplanes in ancient Igbo land, but we have a name for aeroplane, Ugben.
Even
So
computer.
everything should, even computer. So everything
What's the
should
name?
have a word.
What's the Igbo name for computer?
Well, what we decided was Igwe Ome Ihe Niile.
Igbo.
But I'm thinking some people call it Ome Ihe Niile, because really it does everything.
Okay, okay. That is
Yeah.
awesome. That is fantastic. So continue with the obstacles you faced in
So
doing.
the obstacles I also face from linguists, because I used to get a lot of hate mail from them, and like stick to your IT, you know. Let us do our language.
Really?
Yeah, but it's when people tell me don't do something, that's when I go and do that thing. So they were actually spurring me on.
Oh yeah.
But the biggest obstacle is money, really. And also people are not doers, because there's nothing special with what I've done. It's just people deciding to look for a solution. There's always a solution. You just need to ask. So, and we're at a time when if no publishing house would accept your work, you can go on Amazon and use Amazon KDP, and they'll publish it for you. So everyone has knowledge in them. It's just you know, a lot of people live existential lives now. They just go to work, come back, pay the bills. They don't think beyond paying the bills. But I think we're doing the next generation a huge disservice, because the generation before us tried to standardize the language, and then there's a gap between when a huge gap when people like Frederick Obalo died in 91 up until maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So there's a huge gap, and that's why the language has suffered, because even in English language, new words keep coming out, and that's why they keep reversing Oxford Dictionary every 5 years, because new words come up. Because that's how about 15 years ago there was nothing like selfie.
Yes. Yes.
So there's so many words that come up, and then even though words languages borrow from other languages, but Ingilibo has really done a lot to spoil the Igbo language.
Yeah. English is
Yes,
that's a mixture of English and Igbo.
Igbo. So you have that in every language. You have it in Swahili as well, a mixture of Swahili and English. So you have it in so many different languages, but people fall back on Ingilibo a lot because there's no substitute
I was going to say that. What
for.
do you think? What do you think is responsible for Igbo people speaking a lot of English? I am a victim. Like even growing up, we have we have we have English words for every Igbo thing. We just finish off with English. Why? What have you come to find out is responsible for that?
First of all, it's the colonial effect, because we were made to feel that our languages are more inferior, and it's not just for Igbo language.
Okay.
But coming to the Igbo question about how we prefer English over Igbo, I believe it has a lot to do with our history, the Biafran War. Because after the Biafran War, a lot of people were either very Igbo or not Igbo at all. Some people were ashamed of being Igbo. But overriding all that is that, you know, that sense to show, oh, I'm educated. I need to show you that I can speak grammar, you know. And then the schools as well keep punishing children for speaking what the colonial term vernacular.
Mm, mm.
So it's all, and for our own generation, we were the people who were punished in school for speaking Igbo.
Oh,
So we've now grown up speaking English, and then it's a global world now. A lot of people don't have the environmental advantage of being in Igbo land. But then again, you find people in Igbo land who there's a little girl I asked Kedu in Oba a few years ago, and she didn't know what I was talking about.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It happened in
And
Enugu. Enugu.
that's the heart of Igbo land.
No, in
So
Enugu, I was involved in the elections. I was there for 6 months, and there are children in Enugu that cannot speak Igbo. It's amazing. Young children go to school. They're going to school in Enugu. They're going to church in Enugu. They relate with, but they cannot speak Igbo. So that is very, very dangerous. Let me read something that someone wrote here, and that might encourage you. Faith. Her name is Faith. She says, "You're a real genius, obedient wife, very hardworking, very
I don't know about obedience. My husband might tell you something else.
keep it up. Though I didn't contribute a penny or have needs to buy it because my children have got Igbo books, they learned from already. But she's proud of what you're doing. Thank you so much, Faith Chain. A lot of people here also say, Kevin,
Oh, okay, yeah.
oh, you know Faith.
Okay,
Okay,
I know her, yeah.
okay. Kevin says very interesting, and well, interesting. A lot of people find it interesting. You see, a lot of people, they don't know things like this are happening. They don't know that a lot of people are doing things in the background. To what am I doing? I think I flipped my video. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So it is important we do things like this, and you don't know how many people you inspire, just by telling them what you're able to do. I personally always thought that you did linguistics or you are an expert in language. The fact that today you've also explained what your background is, that will be an inspiration to a lot of people, because I keep telling people, when you go to the university, it's not just the university is just to prepare you for the world. Every experience that you've gained in life is to prepare you to follow what you've been called for. And you will know what you've been called for by the kind of things that tug at your heart, by the way God exposes you to a problem in a society, a vacuum, and then you just have to follow it. When you begin to follow it, then you see all of those experiences or your training in the university, everything comes to help you achieve that. So you are quite an inspiration, just letting us know that even though language is not your primary area of specialization, but you're breaking barriers in that field, you're overcoming obstacles, and it makes you a perfect candidate for this our series. Thank you so very much, Yvonne. Just is there something you would like us to know? How can people get in touch with you? What are you available to do? I know your time is so choked up, but are you available to speak at events? Do you have books that people can purchase? Where can they purchase them? This is the time we would like to know these things.
Okay, so but before I plug my things, my products, I would like to invite anyone who I mean, even if you can't read and write, you can surely record something on your phone. There's a lack of materials for learning out there, not just for everybody knows something. There are things you don't realize you know, but you can just start a blog or a Facebook book live. This is my first Facebook live, to be honest. And I've been on Facebook for 11 years now, but actually
Wow.
12, this is my 12th year on Facebook. And this is
Wow.
my first Facebook live. So you can You can start with what you're interested in. There's always everyone has their own angle on something. So it might be spirituality, it might be cooking, it might be languages. And don't let technology stop you, because you can use PowerPoint or Word to write a book, and then you can turn it into PDF. You can use, even if you don't have Word, you can use the Google tools to create your own materials, and you can teach people your language. And the day you stop learning, because the only way you can teach is if you learn. So the day you stop learning is the day you die. So it's, everybody's on a learning journey. So what I learned last year, you might learn this year, and then in the process of you learning this year, you might show me something that I didn't learn when I learned that thing. So I'm just trying to encourage everybody, especially this year that is the International Year of Indigenous Languages. Everybody's trying to promote their own indigenous language, and I'm throwing a challenge out there. If you need help, just let me know. Ask me questions. I won't do your child's homework for you, because some people send their child's Igbo homework and tell me to do it for them. I do charge money for that, because my time is valuable. But if you need advice on how to start something, how to publish something, just send me a message and I'll help as much as possible. I have a few things on the pipeline. I have a book that I will release next month. It's called Survival Igbo. It's a book of phrases that would help people just start. It has a whole bank of possible sentences that you can refer to if you're not yet fluent in Igbo language. And then everything I do really is on www.learnibonow.com. And if you go on there and sign up to our newsletter, then I'll let you know what I'm up to. But just do your thing. Don't just live from morning to night, going to work and coming back and paying your bills. There's a lot more inside that head of yours. Share your experience with the world.
Wow. So you said it's let me type it in the comment. It says www
Learn Igbo now.
Igbo
Now. NOW.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just send it up there. I'm gonna pin it. So okay. So I just pinned it up. All right. Thank you so very much, Yvonne. When are you coming to Toronto? When are you moving your conference? When are you moving your conference to Toronto?
If you call us, we'll be there. Because January we went to Gambia. Yeah. Last year we went to Lagos. So if you invite us, we'll come.
What does it take to invite someone?
And we've been invited to Kenya. Money.
Okay, you know what? We have Igbo groups here. We have Igbo Union. We have Igbo. We have a lot of, and all they do. Sorry, don't tell anybody. All they do is just a party and picnic. So maybe now they can
same in London. Same here everywhere.
But I said so.
But the biggest problem we have as a people is lack of knowledge. So we actually need to learn about our culture and where we come from, because much of what we see as our culture now is actually Victorian culture imposed upon us by the colonial masters. So all this ideology that women are suppressed, Igbo women are suppressed. They are not. Igbo women had their own spaces, and but because in Victorian times, women were property. So it was that sense that colonial masters came to Igbo land and then couldn't believe how much power women had. So they were trying to suppress women. And that's part of what's happening in our society now. So that's what we see now is not really Igbo culture. It's what we've adopted as Igbo culture.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thank you so much for
Thank you. Thank you so
coming to
much. Yeah.
talk online.
And I look forward to coming to Canada.
Yes, you have to come to Toronto. We'll certainly think about inviting you. Thank you very much now,
Okay.
Yvonne.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you everyone.
Yeah, we're going to have this on YouTube so people can go ahead and continue to watch it and they can share it to other people. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm gonna take it off. All right, guys. That was Yvonne Mbanefo, our guest today, and you can see every one of these people who have come on have inspired us with their stories, and we have seen how they were able to overcome limitations in their life, in their careers, and how they were able to break barriers that people face trying to do what they love to do and trying to pursue whatever passions, whatever visions that they have. Next time on this series, we're going to bring another person to come and share with us their life challenges, and I hope it will bless you like I have been blessed. Drop us a message, drop us a comment, let us know what you think we should talk about. If you have someone that you think that's been breaking barriers and overcoming limitations, of course, we all have been doing this, but if anybody stands out and you want to talk to that person, please hit us and we will contact that person. From Worship Media in Toronto, this is Chidi and Erica signing out.